And the War Room is live on the KTAR YouTube page. You can watch it as it goes down. It's Bruce and Gaydos, and we have our panel of three today. So there's a ton to get to. We've got former Arizona Congressman, the Republican, Matt Salmon. Good to see you.
Hey there.
Look at that lid you're wearing, man. You are rocking that thing. Yeah. It is awesome.
You know what? Skin cancer will do that to you.
Oh wow. My gosh. Okay. Is that why you wear the hat?
I wear a hat whenever I can.
I thought you were
looks like he's headed to the Bahamas.
I thought he was going on an African river cruise. I was like, wow.
Blew out my
Look at backside of salmon.
Yeah.
We got film and TV and radio host Gayle Bass. Hi, Gayle.
Hello.
And we got the retired colonel of the
fish.
Arizona Department of Public Safety, the Republican, Frank Milstead.
How do I become the Republican?
Well, you're a Republican. Salmon's a Republican.
Yeah.
So I always
That's
have to
why
say,
we have Gayle in the middle.
Yeah, that's the ticket.
what party you're all
I'm
from.
trending more libertarian on many issues for some reason.
Well, let's talk about illegal immigration.
Oh. And
let's talk about something that's happened here in Arizona. A couple things. There are reports that Tucson Electric Power is responding to allegations that immigration officials impersonated their employees, put on their uniform,
like to get people to open their doors and things,
and arrest them in South Tucson. We had ICE officers here in Phoenix outside of the courtrooms looking to arrest people who just had their court appearance. So I want to ask the panel: are we going too far on this? Is this too far? We're dressing up in costumes now, and we're arresting people. Is it too far?
So, Gaydos, when it comes to the idea of wearing the utility company's clothing or whatever the case may be, look, they're working undercover, and they're doing whatever it takes. They work in a legal capacity too, just like any cop does. Mm-hmm. And they work undercover. You know, I got through college serving legal papers, and often, I would dress up like somebody giving a candygram or whatever, so that somebody would. I mean, because people would dodge service all the time.
Okay,
and so that's not something I have an issue with. They're doing their job.
That's interesting, Gayle.
I was really quite surprised that I heard that because, obviously police go undercover all the time. You have police that infiltrate gang units. So I was rather surprised that people are surprised by this because that's just what authorities do.
Interesting.
I don't know. I mean, if they were going after some real bad people, fine. When they start dragging in teenagers, that's when I have a pause because where are their parents? Like you're taking in a kid and, can they contact their parents and their attorneys? That's where I really get worried.
Frank?
I'm with Gayle, and this is probably why I adore her so much because we've been doing undercover work. We delivered pizzas. We had cars that looked like taxi cabs. We did all of those things during my time in law enforcement over the 35 years. So I have no issue with trying to put on a guise to arrest bad people. But that's the issue to me is, are you arresting bad people? Are you arresting criminals? And again, I know this doesn't sound real Republican, but public trust and public sentiment is the key to police effectiveness and efficiency. And if you're out just rounding up people, it almost gets back to the 1070 days. Yep. And it concerns me a lot because it erodes public trust, public sentiment. And if what you said was, I'm going after the worst of the worst and the bad people, I completely support that plan.
Arizona can get behind that.
I don't hear anybody against it.
Nobody disagrees with that. Get the bad ones gone.
But if you're telling people to go to Home Depot and find guys who are migrant workers who want to work for the day and make a living, I have issue with that.
My worry is along those lines, and I know we've spoken about this before, that if you lose the trust of an entire community, when crime and criminals are actually there, they don't feel like they can reach out to the police. This does a disservice to everybody, to an entire community.
But Bruce, one of the, I think as well as I do in political terms, the pendulum swings. And with how bad things got during the Biden years with the borders becoming a sieve. And I mean, you had people from over 100 different countries being smuggled, by the cartels into this country.
And we let them stay, and we did it on purpose.
That's right. And it was crazy.
Right.
But now the pendulum has swung way far the other way. And I mean, you think about, you know, I get it. The idea of the worst of the worst. But when Rudy Giuliani, back when he was sane,
what year was that?
01.
Before the dye started leaking.
but Rudy Giuliani, you know, when he became the mayor of New York, he cleaned up that town by busting people for jaywalking and going after some of the, you know, the lesser crimes. And
was that called that the broken windows approach?
Broken windows theory.
Yeah,
But it worked.
But he
It
was
actually
doing stop
worked.
and
It worked
frisk
big
on
time.
people
It
who
did.
shouldn't have been
It worked
stopped
big
and
time.
frisked. There's also the caveat to that. All those people were getting stopped that didn't need to be stopped just by the color of their skin.
I think we're getting rapidly close to, and I'm not wishing for this, people are going to get hurt. In San Diego, I don't know if you saw this just the other day, ICE raided a local restaurant, and got the busboy and the dishwasher.
Yep.
And the residents came out, and cops used tear gas and flashbangs to break up the crowd who were irate that they were raiding the restaurant down on the corner and dragging off these employees. Like, this isn't going to end well.
Well, think about this. Every time you go to a restaurant, we are hiring. They're always looking for people. People lament the fact that there's no people to do the work that, you know, Americans are not willing to do. So you have these people who are willing to do the work, and then they're the people you're arresting when you have MS-13 out there. Like, why aren't you arresting?
Go after the bad guys.
Right. It's the bad guys that we support you going after. They're doing bad things that, you know, the human traffickers, go after them, not the guy at the Home Depot who's trying to work and send money back to Mexico.
Colonel Frank, are they going after the low-hanging fruit so they can pad the numbers?
Well, I think they are, because I think you see that number where you say, well, we need 3,000 a day. And that's
Like a quota.
Yeah, it is.
It's
and
a
that's
PR
not
thing.
good. It's not good math. And look, I'm going to say something that I probably shouldn't, and I'll probably pay for dearly down the road. But I just had a pool built and my home remodeled.
Okay.
And there were a lot of people there that didn't speak English. Now, I didn't check on them or what they did.
You didn't ask their immigration status.
I didn't. And I'm not going to assume that they were or weren't. But they worked hard. They did great jobs. When the guy came and did the rebar for my pool, I was like, I watched him. He worked by himself for like 3 straight days. And I asked the superintendent, I go, what do you pay that guy? I go, because
it's not enough.
Well, no, because you couldn't get me to do
Right.
it. I mean, he was
Backbreaking.
It was crazy. It was backbreaking work and dangerous work because he's doing the wire and bending stuff. Look, I'm just glad that people want to work and people want to be part of this. So I don't like them rounding people up.
We desperately need a guest worker program.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, the Republicans have the White House, they have the Supreme Court, and they have both houses of Congress. At what point are we going to say, you know what, you guys? You didn't do the immigration bill when Biden was in office because Trump didn't want you to do it. And now that he's in office, here's your chance before the midterms. Where is it?
There's a new poll out. It kind of says what you guys are talking about. Arizona voters across the board support turning over undocumented individuals to ICE if they are caught committing serious crimes. However, here in Arizona, it is split when it comes to minor crimes. So 45% of respondents are against involving ICE in those cases. 44% are for it. We're inside the war room. We've got Matt Salmon, Gayle Bass, Frank Milstead. Trump wants to. It looks like he wants the numbers he wants to get he wants to detain about 3,000 migrants a day. And they're calling this Operation at Large. And a lot more personnel is now involved, like 5,000 personnel across federal law enforcement agencies. You got 21,000 National Guard troops. And if you look at some of these numbers, this is his latest push for the mass deportations. And I want to ask Frank Milstead, is he reshaping federal law enforcement as officials start to shift resources towards immigration-related cases? And how do you feel about that?
I think America was outraged by what happened over the last 4 years.
There's no doubt.
And I don't know if it's 10 million or 20 million. I don't know the number. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But but there's no country without borders. There's no other country in the world that would have tolerated what we tolerated over the previous 4 years.
Yeah, 3.5 years, right?
It was crazy. So I think there's a lot of people that don't belong. I think that we have opened ourselves. We're ripe for concentrated and repetitive terrorism, and that worries me a ton. Yeah. And I don't want to give people ideas, so I won't tell you what I think because my mind goes to there's a lot of people that need to be removed and that came in from all over the world. But what I don't like is let's quit blaming people for what happened and let's fix where we are and let's remove people that are criminals.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah. Again, I don't hear anybody argue against that. Yeah.
And he mentioned terrorism, and that's where we're going to go next.
Yeah, we are. An illegal immigrant set fire to Jews in Boulder, Colorado. It's amazing, right?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
He's got to go. Well,
should his family be deported? We're going to talk about that next inside the War Room. All right, we are inside the War Room, joined by our esteemed guest, former Congressman Matt Salmon, current film, TV, radio host Gayle Bass, and retired Colonel of the Arizona Department of Public Safety, Colonel Frank Milstead. All right, so we just had the breaking news. We just had Big Bill deliver that for us. A new travel ban policy, the U.S. restricting travel from, it's exactly a dozen countries, Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. The travel ban goes into effect Monday at midnight, 12:01 a.m., plus heightened restrictions for countries Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela.
Let's start with Matt Salmon. You agree with the Trump ban?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think that there are some serious concerns when it comes to terrorist threats that those countries pose. And again, you know, when we were kind of teasing what we're going to talk about, this kind of upstaged it. But you know, the recent terrorist attack in Colorado. Yeah. You know, the fact is, I don't agree with a lot of the things that this administration is doing, especially on the big beautiful bill, so-called. But as far as this travel ban, I think it's a good idea.
Was Egypt on that list?
No.
Because the guy in Colorado is from Egypt.
No, I know.
And he came on a tourist visa.
Yeah,
Right.
So, I mean, are we going after the right people who are going to be, like, that guy is a terrorist.
He is
No
a
doubt.
terrorist.
He's a terrorist.
Yeah.
But if
He's
you
a
listen to
terrorist.
Chris
There's no doubt
Wray
about it.
over the last 12 years and you listen to Kash Patel currently, they all say our biggest threat is China, and they want to revoke Chinese visa for kids that are in school here. And I'm not opposed to that idea, but the idea that they're not on the travel ban is interesting to me.
Yeah, they're not
Oh.
on the travel ban. No.
Man.
Well, you know why? Because, you know, we offer that gold visa, and the people who can afford the gold visa are a lot of Chinese entrepreneurs and business owners.
Lots of billionaires in China.
A lot of them.
So why block them off when it's like, you know, that's $5 million cash deposit?
But I would extrapolate it back into the same thing with the tariff issue in China, is that we haven't been able to resolve that. And he says he's going to resolve it. But if you're going to put pressure on people to do certain things that you want them to do, I don't know. It just seems kind of nonsensical not to include that.
The other thing I would say about the China folks, I speak Mandarin. I've been over to China over 40 times. I lived in Taiwan as a kid. I
can't get over the speak Mandarin part. Sorry.
Well, we'll have some fun.
We'll have some fun with that. Yeah.
But
But he looks like he's just a chronic white guy.
That is not fair. Let me stand up for my white dudes here.
thank you, Gayle. But when's the last time there was a terrorist attack from any Chinese citizens?
Yeah, no,
in the
I agree
United
with you.
States?
They just take our intellectual property.
Yes.
But go on.
Yes, they do.
Economic terrorist is
Yes.
different
I
from
would
a
say
Yes,
so.
they do that.
a
But
Molotov
as
throwing
far as
terrorist.
throwing Molotov
Yeah.
cocktails or blowing up a building or something like that, it hasn't happened.
They just own our debt.
All right. How about the guy who decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to light Jews on fire in Boulder, Colorado.
Why? I don't understand the historical animus toward the Jews. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. And at some point, it's got to stop. But I don't know how to stop it. And this Egyptian guy comes here and is motivated to do that, which is unacceptable. And we should not stand for that.
No, I don't think anybody's standing
But
for it.
I think the last couple of attacks we've seen, including the
couple.
couple in
They were
Washington,
about to get
D.C.,
engaged.
the attackers, if I believe the terrorist side of it, they believe they're standing up for Palestine in some way, shape, or form.
What was really interesting to me about that story is that the guy didn't want to start perpetrating the terrorist attack until after his daughter graduated.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh gosh. Wow.
Yeah,
and
Sounds
it's
premeditated to me.
Exactly.
Oh, no, they say they've been planning it for a year.
Molotov cocktails or 20 other Molotov cocktails in his trunk of his car.
But it also goes to the point that this guy shouldn't have been here.
No, he shouldn't have been here in the first place.
No.
And he was here on an expired visa.
Right.
And then he turned around and applied for asylum.
a work visa.
He applied for a work visa. That
It expired March 28th of this year.
He should have been gone.
So what you say that should have been gone. So I think this is let's remove the fact that the terrorist part, and I'm not trying to
he should have
gloss
been gone
over it.
anyway.
How many people their visas expire
It's 50%,
and they just blend in?
50% of the people that are here illegally are people that overstayed their visas.
and
they're not people coming across
But
the
there's
border.
no
What's the
enforcement of
process?
that.
People don't
That's what I'm saying.
remember.
What's the
No,
process?
there's no enforcement of that, and nobody's going to go and look for a guy on an expired tourist visa. I mean, there's no capacity to facilitate that.
It's like the honor system. If you don't raise your hand and go, "Hey, my visa expired," nobody else knows, right?
Well, what's the difference? You can have an open border and let people walk in, or isn't it the same? You've got
They're both
people
cheating the
who are-
system.
If
They're
they
both
land at
cheating
Sky
the
Harbor,
system.
what's the
Yes,
difference?
What's the
Right.
difference?
It's not.
There's
They're
no
both
difference.
They're both cheating the system.
So I think what Gayle said is interesting about the Jewish people and about what's happening in the collegiate world and what's the anti-Semitism that exists in America. And you're African American. If this was the same thing that was going against African American people, I mean, there would be outrage everywhere about people picking on that culture. And I don't understand in my mind what the difference is between an African American culture, a Jewish culture, or we did it against Hispanics or anybody else. I don't know why this is somehow okay.
It's not.
Obviously.
It's not.
We are inside the war room. Again, a great panel having an awesome discussion. Matt Salmon, Gayle Bass, Frank Milstead. Coming up next, though, we'll get into this. Is Trump spitting on Pride Month? We'll talk about it next. Outspoken inside the war room on KTAR.
All right, here we are, second half of the war room. Retired Colonel of the Arizona Department of Public Safety, Frank Milstead. We've got film, TV, radio host Gayle Bass and the former Arizona Congressman Matt Salmon. Let's go to it's June. It's Pride Month, so here's the thing. Trump has no plans to issue a proclamation recognizing June as a Pride Month or dedicated to any other group or cause. What is that? What do we expect from our president when it comes to this issue? Last year I thought Joe Biden went overboard. I mean, if you looked at what happened on the White House lawn, there was a topless transgender individual, and I mean, taking your shirt off, born a man. Transition to a woman, decide I'm going to take my shirt off. And it's like, wait a second, that's not right. But I also look at Trump and say, wait, what you're doing isn't right either. It's so far left, it's so far right, and most of us are like, can't we do something that's somewhere in the middle?
We're not at a happy medium. We're not going to be at a happy medium for some time.
No.
And it's like that pendulum swing. At some point, people have to recognize there are gay people in society.
Well, I think we do, don't we?
And recognizing that they have a Pride Month, I don't have a problem with that. My sister's married to a woman.
Uh-huh.
So I think coming from that perspective and having somebody in the family and having friends, longtime friends, who either are gay or have transitioned, you learn to deal with it. The end. And I mean, we've learned, and they're just as much entitled to live, happy, healthy lives as we are. And acknowledging that they exist, I don't have a problem with that.
I have a gay son, and he lives in D.C. He's a psychiatrist. I told him he was going to get filthy rich because there's lots of nuts.
Lots of crazy people in D.C.
Don't drain that swamp for him.
Oh, my God. He's clients for decades.
But and I know he's really, really frustrated with a lot of the things that are going on. But ultimately, when it comes to, the Pride Month and all that kind of stuff, we want everybody in the country to feel like we're all, members of the team. Mm-hmm. I think, though, with some of the LGBTQ, like the stuff that's going on, the arguments that are going on in California about the transsexual that,
Transgender.
transgender that's wanting to compete or is competing in the track and field exercises. And even Gavin Newsom's come out and said,
can I tell you, I think those are two different issues.
Well,
I don't think transgender means you're gay, first off. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think those are different issues.
But the gay pride thing is LGBTQ.
Right.
And that includes everybody.
Right. Yeah.
And so, it's
an umbrella.
It's an umbrella. And one of the guys that I actually, I've been on his show several times, and I think he calls them like he sees them, balls and strikes. Bill Maher, is kind of called out some of the liberals for some of the, goofy stuff that they swallow. And I think that ultimately, when it gets right down to it, let's be welcoming. Let's be, we're all
Americans.
Yeah, we're all Americans.
We're all human beings.
You know what? I grew up in a town where there was the German American Club, the Italian American Club, and Balboa Park in San Diego. They have the German house, the Filipino house. And so that's celebrated. If they want to celebrate a gay pride house, you know what? It's going to be fabulous, and I'm going to go. The drinks are going to be lit. The end. So why not let them have what they want?
Okay, so we started by talking about is Trump spitting on Pride Month by not issuing a proclamation? I mean, if we're talking LGBTQ, well, Trump, what you mentioned in California, Trump wants to prevent trans women from competing in women's sports.
Right.
Good. I'm for that. I don't think that should happen at all.
It's a fairness issue.
I mean, this is ridiculous that we even argue about it.
I think you can support someone's sexuality, whatever it might be, without undermining competitive sports. Like, I don't think you have to throw those two things together.
Isn't it Martina Navratilova who said, well, just give them a separate category, and that's what happened in California. Right. That person got a separate category.
What do you mean a separate category?
They made sure that the transgender person...
Born a man, transitioned to a woman.
Yeah, that person got an award, and so did the leading female who would have come in
but
first.
Was that person competing against other women?
Well, see, hey, all I know is...
Because he can't do that.
Well...
And I think America's already decided that that's not a good idea.
And that's pretty much, I think most thinking people out there agree it's a fairness issue.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be allowed to compete with girls.
The president of the United States should represent everybody equally and have a common respect. It doesn't mean that you have to stand up and applaud for everybody who does something, but I think it's just having a mutual common respect for people's rights to do what they want to do.
Live and let live.
But what have we all talked about for it's like Biden did something so far left that Trump now has to swing it all the way back far
because
right.
Because it doesn't matter if it's left or right. It's theater. It's not real.
Right.
I mean, it's theater, and they put on these shows, and it's not necessary. Just treat people with respect. Let them have their space to do what they want to do, and we can all get along. I don't know. I like people, and I think people should respect people. No matter what they do. And again, I don't have to applaud for him, her, or whatever, but I can give them their space to be who they are.
Yeah.
After all said and done, I mean, you just get back to the golden rule, right? Treat people like you want to be treated.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we're well past that, though, aren't we? I think, sadly, I mean, that's certainly not what we're seeing, and I think there's an argument that it starts at the top. If the people think it's okay if the president acts that way, that they can act that way.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's a president or if it's Congress. They're all into theater. They don't respect each other. They can't figure out that a compromise is not a loss. And
compromise is a dirty word.
Right. But it's not a loss. A compromise is two, thinking human beings come together and solve a problem for the good of the society.
Ronald Reagan once said that if somebody's with you 80% of the time, that person is an ally, not an adversary.
Here. He's Matt Salmon. There's Colonel Frank over there, Gayle Bass. All right, we've got a quick check of the headlines on the way. And then we come back inside the war room. Elon Musk's nuke Trump's big, beautiful bill. He called it the disgusting abomination. We're going to talk about that next. Disgusting abomination. Not just an abomination. Disgusting abomination. Okay. We're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill next inside the war room on KTAR. That's right. We are inside the war room with the good and the great of the valley. We've got former Congressman Matt Salmon. We've got film, TV, radio star Gayle Bass.
That's the
and
great.
Retired colonel of Arizona's DPS. We got Frank Milstead in here with us. So the big, beautiful bill is working its way through Congress. Again, I'm glad we have Matt Salmon here because all I know about how bills work is what I learned on Schoolhouse Rock. So I don't fully understand where we are in the system. But did Elon Musk torpedo this bill? I mean, he went from
Called it an abomination.
Yeah, Trump's right hand to all of a sudden he's tweeting left and right about going after anybody that
He went
votes
from
for it.
parking a Tesla on the White House lawn to now just bashing Donald Trump.
I mean, he's scorched earth.
You know, my one regret about Elon Musk is that he pulls his punches, you know? Why can't he just smack them?
Yeah.
The fact is, I can't understand why any conservative, anybody that calls themselves a conservative would vote for this. And right now, there's a couple of senators that are actually having a cojones and standing up against this thing. One of them is Rand Paul, who's really a conservative.
Yeah. He's libertarian. Is that a good way to put it?
He is libertarian, but he's also a fiscal hawk, something that doesn't really, I think it's an endangered species
He's
in Washington
always
right now.
talked about this.
Yes. He's all, and in fact, no matter who's president,
he's consistent.
And with the other sycophants that are trying to, make Trump happy and, tell him that it's wonderful when it's not wonderful. You've got him and you've got Ron Johnson from Wisconsin that are standing up. I mean, this thing blows the doors off the deficit. It spends like a drunken sailor on shore leave, and
it'll add 2 to 4 trillion.
What's that?
It'll add 2.4 trillion.
Exactly.
2.4.
And when are they going to get serious about the debt? In fact, when I was in Congress, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff was asked a question about what is the biggest threat to our national security.
I remember this.
And he said, it's our national debt.
Yeah,
and that was clear back when it was like 25 trillion.
Trump has said the same thing. He said he's worried about the debt.
No, he's not.
Well, that's what he says, Bruce.
You know
he says
what?
he's worried about
a lot of
debt.
things.
The fact
Then why do we pass this big, beautiful bill instead of balance the budget?
I don't know.
I mean, as one of the guys that actually was there when we balanced the budget 3 years in a row.
That was Bill Clinton was president, right?
Bill Clinton was president of the United States at the time. But the fact is, it can be done, but not,
Well, everybo's for balancing the budget. Nobody's for cutting anything. Isn't that the problem?
My problem is that I am against big government.
Here.
And you've got these guys that love big government as long as it's in their image.
On their side.
What's good about the bill? Because, nobody's read this thing. I mean, you listen to the Democrats and they say it's the worst thing ever, or you listen to some of these Republicans and, as you said, it's the greatest thing. All right, well, is there anything good in it? Because what I've been told by a couple of people, it's great for business.
You know what?
For business.
Extends tax cuts.
And it's the tax cuts. It's the
And
big deal,
I
and that's
agree
where
with
the
the
votes
tax
come
cuts.
from. The votes come from the tax cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gave us tax cuts before, but then they voted him out of office. So there's that.
But isn't here? So far be it for me, and I don't want to tell
Yes,
the
there are good things
congressman
in the bill, but nobody's
how it
read
works.
them.
Yeah, but it's
Right.
one or the other. You either have a spending problem or a tax problem.
Right.
And the problem we have in Congress is spending keeps going up and taxes are going down. The both of them are going exactly the wrong direction.
But how do you not trust the guy you put in charge of Doge, who also happens to be the richest man on the planet, to doubt what he is saying? And it's hard to doubt Elon Musk because he's obviously a bright guy and he knows what he's doing, or he wouldn't be the richest guy on the planet and he wouldn't have been in charge of
You
Doge.
know how he got rich, though? All those government contracts, which apparently have been canceled. Like, research into cancer. That's my concern.
Don't pick
It's
on
like,
Elon. Leave Elon alone.
We lead the world in research. We have groundbreaking research. And the fact that we're cutting that off in order
We
to
still haven't
give
cured
people
cancer.
who don't need a tax cut is a problem for me.
Well,
and I think it's a problem for a lot of people.
I will admit, I am a supply sider. I believe that when you cut taxes, revenues will actually grow.
I agree.
If you cut taxes in the right way. So I do applaud that. But I agree with Gayle. You don't cut research. I mean, the fact is, we have some of the greatest research in the world going on in this country. And we've
made the world better. Our country
and if
has
we
made
want
the
to
world better.
maintain our global superiority. We've got to double down on building a better mousetrap.
But isn't that at the root of this? Trump and his people don't care about the rest of the world. Don't care about allies. Don't care about standing in the world. Don't care.
And I think it's a very dangerous thing for us to not be world leaders in areas where we were before. And our soft power will come back to haunt us.
It will come back.
Wow. Great war room. Thank all of you. Seriously. Thank you for being here today. Gayle Bass, Matt Salmon, Frank Milstead. You will all be back in the war room soon.
I have more to say.
I bet you do.
Matt clogged up this last thing.
I'm filibustering. It's a filibuster.
Yeah, what do you expect from a former congressman, right?
Like I couldn't get a word in edgewise.
Thank you guys so much for being inside the war room with us today. Hey, coming up next.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.